remove this intake pipe, use a 7mm socket, loosen up this worm clamp right here, and also up here. And just slide it off. Might have to twist it back and forth a little bit. Comes right out. Disconnect this hose right here. There's two little push tabs that you push in and then it will slide off. It will release the locks. And there's a hose that goes way down here. You want to take that hose off. Just going to use some needle nose pliers. Squeeze the clamp. Slide it off. You can use a pick and just go around here if it's too tight. And slide that out. Disconnect the connector right here. Just push down on the lock. Slide it off. This lower hose, we want to disconnect that. Loosen up the worm clamp using a 7mm socket. Just grab the hose and slide it off. Set that aside. Using an 11mm socket, we want to loosen up this clamp right here. Might need a pry bar. Just get under there. Just pry that out. Might have to take the nut off for that. Underneath, we're going to take this shield off. We'll use a trim tool, take this push pin out. Using a 7mm socket, we'll take these bolts out up here. And then in the back, one right there. And grab the shield and slide it down. Now we're going to remove the lower oil return line. You're going to use an E10 socket. Take that bolt out. After you get that bolt off, you want to use that same socket. You might have to use a universal and just get behind here. There is another bolt. I'm going to take that bolt off as well. It's a little tricky to get to. And take that bolt out. Now we're going to loosen up this hose. Use a T45 socket. Take this banjo bolt off. Then we're going to take this bolt out. Use a E10 socket. Loosen that up. Grab the hose, slide it out, and slide it out of the way. Now we're going to take off the manifold bolts. There's 4 up on top. Use a 10mm socket. Take those out. Now I'm going to do the ones underneath. They're slightly harder to access, but it's still the same 10mm socket, and there's 4 underneath. Going for the bottom ones, they are staggered a little bit from the top. They're mostly in the middle, right in between where the top ones are. to the left of it. I can just get in there with this. And pull that last one out. And grab the turbo. You can slide it forward a little. Take this bracket off. Just slide that out. Now there's a bolt down here. You're going to have a hard time getting into it. Use a 17mm socket and ratchet. You might want to put a coolant catch pan underneath in case you lose any coolant as you loosen it up. I'll show it a little bit more once we get it out. And you can grab the turbo, slide it out a little bit. There is another coolant hose right here. I'm going to take that off. Just use some hose clamp pliers. Slide that hose clamp down. And you can either use some pliers or even a pick and just try to loosen that up. Twist it back and forth. And the coolant's going to flow a little more now. And just slide the turbo out. And there it is. Now we're going to swap over the coolant feed and return pipe from the old turbo. Use a 17mm wrench. Loosen up these pipes right here. Oh, got it loose. Now before we put the pipes on the new one, we want to take these seals off. Just use a pick, or you might need some pliers to take it off. You can wipe it off first. Put the seal on. Take this plug off. Get this one started over here. And if you can get a torque wrench in here, if you have the ability to torque it, you want to torque that to 15 foot-pounds. Then with the other one, we're going to do the same. Take this seal off. Wipe it down. Put the new seal on. But also we have seals over here. We want to take those off as well. Make sure that's all cleaned up. And you're going to take two seals. One seal is going to go on the inside, and one seal is going to go on the outside. It may be easier just to hold on to this on the side for now, and then once we install the turbo in the car, then install that bolt. So we'll slide that in place. Make sure that seal's there. And then the same 15 foot-pounds. This one went like this. So do the best you can, trying to torque that to 15 foot-pounds. Now we can take all these caps off. And install it in the vehicle. Now just take the gasket off for the manifold. You want to take a rag and some brake parts cleaner. Just clean up any of the area where the gasket was. You can use a scraper if there's some thick material. And just clean that up. And this gasket, just wipe that away. Now we're going to remove the old studs. We're going to replace them with new ones. If you have a stud remover, you want to use that. If not, you can take 2 nuts. Thread one on, and then thread the other one on. Just take a wrench. On the inside one, tighten down the outside one, and then take the stud right out. You can do the same with the other ones. Installing the new studs, you can do the same but in reverse. These studs don't have a area where you can grab onto with a wrench or a socket, so I'm just going to do the same thing. Put 2 nuts on, get it started, gently snug it down. The nuts off and repeat doing the same on the other ones. We're going to replace the gaskets first, or the seals. Remove the one from the oil return and just slide on the new one, just like that. Put this gasket over the exhaust, over the converter, and then this gasket's going to go for the manifold. Just line that up and slide that in place. We'll put the clamp on here. It's a little easier if you take the bolt out. Slide that over. You can move that over the turbo once the turbo's on. You want to make sure you transfer this over to the new turbo. It's going to be easier to put this on before you put it into the car. Just slide that in position, just like that, and then install the turbo. That'll be a little bit easier than trying to get it on right now while the turbo is already in the car. Slide the turbo in position. It's all set. Slide the clamp over. Just prying the exhaust just to get it to line up. There we go, that's lined up. And put the clamp on. I'm not going to tighten that up yet. I just want it to go all the way around. Now we're going to put this bolt in, and we need the seal on the inside, and then it's going to go through the hose, and then there's going to be another seal on this side. I'm showing this here because you might not be able to see much underneath. The hose is down here. It's going to slide through right there. And I'll put the other seal on. And slide that on like that. And then that has to go underneath here. And I'll tighten this up. If you can get a torque wrench in there, you want to tighten this to 71 inch-pounds. I'm getting there one click at a time. Now we can put the manifold nuts on, get those all started. And it's going to be a little tricky, but you can get the ones started underneath. There we go. Now we're going to torque these to 71 inch-pounds. And you want to torque them in a certain sequence, starting with the middle and working your way out. So I'll start with the bottom one in the middle. And move to the top. And the side. And just alternating top and bottom. And once you get all those, you want to go around again and double check. Hook up this coolant hose right here, just attach that, and use some hose clamp pliers, move that up. Now, when I was taking this turbo off, there was not a bolt right there, but there's a bracket. So if yours has that bolt, you want to remove that. And I'm just going to put a bolt there. Get that started and snug it up. And put the bolt in for the exhaust clamp. And you want to tighten that down. And snug that down. Now I'm going to put the bolts in for the oil return line underneath. It's a little tricky to get to. Get that front bolt started first. And get the back one started. I'll snug those down first. And now I'm going to torque these to 71 inch-pounds. Before we put the oil feed tube in, you want to put engine oil in there. You can use a syringe like this and just top it off. Now we're going to put the oil feed tube in, take the banjo bolt. If there's a seal on there, you want to take the old seal off. Put the new seal on. Slide the feed tube in place and make sure you get the other seal on the other side. Just like that. And you can get it lined up over here as well. Then we want to torque that to 89 inch-pounds. And install this bolt over here, and we'll tighten that down. Just snug it down, that's good. Now down below, I'm going to take that rag out and slide the pipe right on there. Make sure that's all lined up. Make sure it's snug. The pipe is not loose. On the old turbo, we're just going to take this hose off here. Just use some needle nose pliers. Slide this clamp off. Get that to slide off. Then on this vacuum line right here, we want to just put that elbow on there. We could have taken it off there from the beginning, and that's okay. Just transfer it over. Move that clamp down right there. This is going to go down below. And slide that onto the turbo. and move that clamp down. Now connect the electrical connector. I'll line that up, lock it in place. And this hose right here, it's gonna go on the side. Lock it down. Now put the intake hose on. Line that up. And tighten the worm clamp down. Snug it down. Now put this panel back in place. Line it up. Get the screws started. And put the push pins back in. And just lock them down. After we're done, you want to top off the coolant, take the reservoir cap off, add the appropriate coolant, then start the vehicle, run it for about 10 minutes. While you're running it for 10 minutes, monitor the coolant temperature, make sure the engine isn't overheating, and then shut the vehicle down, let it cool down, and adjust the level accordingly.